Yeah, let me take you for a little peekaboo here in the engine room of a 1965 Stevens powerboat, a 60-footer. So these engines are original. These are Detroit 671s, 6-cylinder and a 71 series. These engines are original with the boat, have about 4,000 hours plus, and are really historic engines. These bad boys produce about 240 horsepower each. They're not turbocharged. They have a root blower, so kind of a mechanical blower to charge the cylinders. These are two-stroke engines, so they don't normally aspirate. When the piston goes down, they don't pull in air. So you need a root blower to charge the cylinders. But two-stroke, very efficient. Very efficient indeed. We got a fuel burn rate of 6.1 gallons per hour, running at about 1,400 RPM on average. And that pushed us along a 60-foot boat at 8.5 knots. And we had the generator going at the same time. And our burn rate was 6.1 gallons per hour. That is amazing. For a big boat like this, 60-footer, to be pushed at 8.5 knots, into a slight chop or whatever, with the generator going on at the same time. The generator's in that box right over here. That's a big generator. I'm not even sure what size it is. But these engines were they first came online in 1938 and stayed in production as they had variants of the same engine, the inline 6, the V6, the V16. I mean, they had the 4-cylinder. So they had all kinds of 71 engines. This is probably one of the most popular ones. These were used in tanks, tractors, buses. The Soviet Union got plans for building these through the Lend-Lease program, and they built them and used them in their tanks. So, and in the marine industry, obviously, uses these quite a bit back in the day. So they remained in production until 1995, when Detroit went to a 4-stroke engine instead. So that's when they changed from 2-stroke to 4-stroke. So I'm not exactly sure how all this works. Blower unit, rotor blower, coolant system, heat exchanger. Here's the lift can for the exhaust water, raw water strainer. All kinds of plumbing. They do burn some oil, but not too bad considering the age and the rate at which we ran them. I think we probably put in about, from the beginning, about 800 miles ago. We put in probably about 1.5 gallons of oil in this engine, maybe a little bit more, and about half of that in the port engine. The port engine also ran about 20 degrees warmer than the starboard engine, for whatever reason, I don't know. Probably some restriction in the cooling system, I'd imagine. But an extremely simple engine. These start up on the first stroke. There's no oil or smoke coming out of the exhaust. They run cool. I mean, we never had oil temp more than 190, and we never had cooling temp more than about 180. And that was on the hot engine here. The other one was around 165, 170 for the most part. That's pretty darn cool. So yeah, you get some leak, you get a little bit of oil blow-by that comes out of the crankcase. But what do you expect? The engines have over 4,000 hours, built in 1965, based on a 1938 design. That's really remarkable. I don't see these engines very often in my business, but when I do, I take note. Very, very cool. And the rest of the engine room here, well, you have your fire extinguishing system. And in an engine room like this, with the engine room door opening inwards, as you read on the sign outdoors. If these went off, it would pressurize the atmosphere in this room to the degree that you would not be able to open up that door. So that's why that sign is there. So anytime you're in the engine room, you have to have the door open in case these guys go off by accident or whatever. And then you want to get the heck out of the room because all the oxygen will be taken up. Of course, got stuff all over the place in here, and other things are stored in the engine room. Back in the corner here, kind of hard to get to, are the stabilizers. Let me get a flashlight so I can show you. These are 1960s era British-built stabilizers. Let me see if I can get a good shot of one. There it is right there. So Vosper mini fins is what they are. And these did not work for us. There's a leak in the hydraulics, and we never did get them fully pumped up and working. This is the hydraulics tank for them, and you can see that the fluid level has gone from the top tape mark down to where it is now below the blue one. I don't know if you can see that at all. There you go. Yeah, so that was a little bit of an issue. Transformer right here. These are the big fuel tanks on both sides, about 300 gallons each. And this is the port tank, and it has a little bit of a leak on the bottom there. So it is leaking a drop every a minute or so. And that was supposed to be fixed. They put a patch on it with epoxy, but the patch is starting to leak. So maybe the surface wasn't prepped well enough to begin with. What else we got in here? Well, we got the hot water heater, tool kit, little stand here. You got a washer dryer, of course. What else you got to do with that? And we have vacuum gauges for the fuel. They're not Raycors. I don't know what these are. They look like fuel filters, but they're not Raycors. Some kind of custom old built. Anyway, these need to be replaced. The fuel level leaving Alameda was down. I mean, not level, but the gauge was down here. By the time we arrived, it was up here in yellow. But we made it in without having to change the filters. So they'll do that as part of their post-cruise engine checks and all. A lot of plumbing in this boat, a lot of valves, a lot of stuff that's unmarked. You really have to have some localized boat knowledge for this stuff, because it's a work. And this is a double planked wood boat, and wood boats are a different breed altogether. A lot of stuff in the halls here. I'll show you the bilge. This is the engine room bilge. There's 3 of them on board the boat, and we've had problems with this guy the entire time. You can see it down there. There's some oil in that water. It looks like we got some diapers, and look at all the plumbing everywhere. Bit dirty, bit grungy. It's an old boat. What do you expect? That's how they work. All right. Let's see what else we can show you here. Okay. Well, this is the old dewatering system here. No longer in effect. That's the old dewatering pump. So you're able to, deploy the dewatering system to certain parts of the boat, get things pumped out. 4 air conditioning units on board. There's our emergency dewatering pump there, and then another manual one there. There's an air compressor there that runs the horn, basically. That's all it does. So that entire device is an air compressor, and all it does is it generates compressed air for the air horn, and it sounds like a train horn, basically. And then it gives you, air power if you need it for any tools or whatever. All right, so I'm not going to show you the generator, but it's in this box here. That was on the entire time. We're coming up the coast. And that's about it. So here's the engine room of a 1965 Stevens 60-foot powerboat called the Ranger. See you later.
Well, we're out testing for sure.
We did. Yes, we're good at that.
we have.